low as a brakeman?
Oh, it's not. Your head's getting pushed towards the brakes. You know, you can see, you realize how flexible you are real quickly when you're going through a Kreisel, because the G-forces in there are pretty tough. And it's a nice ride because you realize you're going around in a complete circle.
Some might say it's a bit of vertigo in that, but you guys get used to it.
Oh, you get used to it real quick. If you're not, it's kind of scary.
13th place after run number 1, Simone Bertazzo, Samuela Romanini. They also are off the hill quickly. Big Romanini loads in, and they have, a little bit of a waiver, but not a bad start time. A great start time.
Great start time compared to the first heat. You have to wonder if the weather was really affecting everything in the first heat.
Well, we were wondering that throughout. 4:95 their start here after a 5 flat, but they've had good starts all season long.
Romanini's a man-child, I think. I mean, he's just a big boy behind that sled, so he can get that thing moving.
Somewhat reminiscent of Antonio Tartaglia, big guy behind Gunther Huber, back the last time Italy was dominating in the sport. But they've lost almost all of that lead, TJ.
I didn't see any mistakes that he made. It could have been just little things in the Kreisel or anything like that, so it'll be interesting to see how he comes through the finish line here.
Track could be slowing down. The
a little skid in the finish curve there.
And they skid their way to only the 5th best time of the heat, dropping back 4 spots. So as projected, Zubkov and Holcomb, who frankly just did not belong in the 17th and 18th place positions, they hold on to the top spot. So we look at the exit of the S curves. Take another look at that. So important to be clean here.
He looks a little low right there. So he slaps down kind of hard there. That'll lose you a lot of speed.
And look at the runner tips right in the front. Have you tried driving yet, TJ?
I did try driving. I'm actually going back to driving school this year.
All right.
It's a completely different experience.
From one Italian to another, Tosini Santasiero, another big brakeman. And they just haven't had really quick starts.
They've been struggling so far this year. He had that bad crash last week in St. Moritz. See if he can recover from it.
5:13. They had the 4-man crash, and it was pretty ugly out of Horseshoe, but they all walked away okay. And we saw some heavy snow up at the start, but I look outside here, really none down here 500 feet below.
You wouldn't think that elevation change would make that much of a difference, but at the start there, it looks like it's snowing pretty hard, and it's going to kind of hurt some people up top.
Now the Kreisel. Sometimes we see the driver, when they get down to the finish line, also duck their head.
Aerodynamics is key in this sport, so if you can get lower, try to get that air to flow over top of you. I mean, anything that works. I think Van Kalker's head was down through the straightaway up top here.
Excellent. So the times just keep getting slower. 50.22, and I'm not sure if that's a result of these guys didn't belong to be there, in that position in the first run, or whether the track is deteriorating.
And Zubkov and Holcomb were the first off the hill in the first heat, both coming off in the top 10, and the weather was rough then, and we got to wonder how far they drop back.
Well, now it's the third of 3 USA sleds. Mike Kahn now makes his home in South Carolina. And the Boston native, the rookie, Steve Langton, who everyone's raving about. The Russians continue to hold the lead.
Steve's come on this year, and he's put up some impressive numbers, and he's shocking a lot of people right now. So this should be a strong push right here. Now the snow stopped falling.
5:03 start, run number 1. Clean load, quick load, and a time of 5:02. So they improve.
5:02 is good, and let's see what Mike can do now. He's been driving well the last 2 weeks. I think he got his confidence back in St. Moritz, and I think that's what he needed after the injury earlier in the season. 1400ths
up over the Russians at the end of the first run, and they are now 2400ths up. And everyone talks about these Bodine sleds, how they open up down at the bottom. Do you feel that when you're in the sled?
You can feel when he increases the speed and everything like that. It's a crazy feeling.
Ooh, he's lost 10 back, so this is going to be very tight.
Needs to clean it up down bottom here. If he cleans it up, we should be all right. Hopefully that sled's moving.
120.1, not the fastest we've seen. He could lose it all back here. He was 1400ths up. He loses 2200ths on the bottom with only the 5th best time of the heat. So USA 2, Mike Kahn and Stephen Langdon fall back 1 spot into 2nd place, beating their teammates USA 1 by just 100th of a second.
Mike trying to put it together over the last 2 weeks, just slowly getting his confidence back. We'll see what happens tomorrow in 4-man. We should have a strong push for 4-man tomorrow also. So.
And you talk about the 4-man, that's where TJ Burns is getting ready. We'll see you tomorrow. We're midway through this. Thanks very much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your insights. That's TJ Burns, the United States bobsled team. He will be competing with Mike Kahn tomorrow in 4-man competition. Yesterday was the women's event, and what a day for Germany. Kathleen Martini and Janina Tischa. They took the gold medal after a big lead in the first run, and they led a Germany 1-2-3 sweep. Kyrgios second, Schramm third. First sweep in the FIBT since the men's skeleton event in Lake Placid a year and a half ago. Now we have 10 sleds remaining. Daniel Schmidt, Swiss 2. They had a 5:08 start. Dominic Weber on the brakes. And our thanks to TJ Burns for joining us on the call. Possibility we will have Brock Kreitzberg joining us in a moment. So we've had Canadians and British athletes throughout the weekend, and now some Americans. Christian Reich, the sled builder, and lots of time being taken up here. They had a little hold for track sweeping, and now they're finally clearing the Bahn, as they call it here in Germany. The Bob Bahn. As I mentioned, this man's job is on the line, if not this year, then next year, with Beat Hefty, the great push athlete, switching to the driver's seat and enjoying great results on the Europa Cup circuit. Already, though, a big advantage here, 2/10 up for the Swiss, but we have seen the last several sleds bleeding all sorts of time, as Alexander Zubkov has already moved up 7 spots for Russia. Big tap there into the uphill section. The entrance to Kreisel is uphill. He'll need to have speed of at least 120.5 here to hang on to this 800th of an advantage. So 120.1, we've seen a lot of sleds with 120.1, and we've seen a lot of sleds fall in back of the Russians, and this is another 50.07, only the 7th best time. I got to tell you, the last 9 here are going to be a lot of fun to watch, because these are some sleds that have made it into the top 10 by surprise, and Schmidt is one of them. We've got some contenders certainly coming up now, but Zubkov has made up a lot of room. So has Holcomb, for that matter. Yannis Minins, 5:05 start with Dreiskens behind him as the brakeman. That was their first run start time of 5:05. Minins with a pair of top 6 finishes in 2-man in Cesana. Snow continues to fall and to blow a little bit. They stay in the grooves, 5:06 start. And if the trend continues, they'll build up a little lead here, only to give it away down at the bottom. Zubkov really had that Carbon Tech sled flying on the lower portions of the track. Slight skid there, still a quarter of a second up. Now the straightaway and the taps entering Kreisel. Down to 14. Another one that's going to be very close down here. 120.3, that could do it, or 121.3. 120.5, this could be very close. Russians watch and wait, and 0.04 of a second is the differential, and only the 6th best time of the heat for Minins in Latvia. Zubkov picks up another. He started in 17th place, or 16th place rather, Zubkov. He's moved all the way up to the top 10, potentially. Yeah, definitely the top 10. No worse than the top 9. Huge crowd now on hand here in Germany. They've filled the bleachers down here at the bottom. They're lining the track, and this is the first of 3 sleds from Germany. Thomas Florschut Mirko Petzold, 498 start in run number 1, 495 here. So this will likely be the sled that finally unseats the Russians. They had a 1900ths advantage over Zubkov after the first run. Little bit of a steering there, but opening up 4300ths, and that should be enough. Germans hold the top 2 spots in the standings, Lange and Hefner, and they are looking to make it 3 sleds in the top 8 here. He's lost a bit of the lead, but 3/10 should be enough to hang on for Germany number 2. In his first full season on the World Cup, Thomas Florschütz across the finish, and he does it by just 0.05 of a second. And look at the coach. Yeah, a little bit of relief there on that thumbs up. Things are so competitive amongst the Germans. They certainly know when they fall out of the top 10, they're in danger of losing their spot on the World Cup team. But Florschütz held his end of the bargain here. We have such a log jam amongst the sleds here. Minens, who just went, Florschütz, who followed, and now Rueg. We're all tied, 3200ths out of the lead, tied for 7th place after the first heat. Ivo Rueg, Roman Hansen, 5th in the World Cup standings, 4th rather. Zubkov and Florschütz will move ahead of Steve Holcomb in the World Cup standings, bumping Holcomb from the top 5. But Rueg hoping to move into the top 3. Starts have been getting faster. A little bit of steering right there after the load. 5:03 the start time. Again, tied with the German sled that just came down before the run, already 1600ths back. Can the Swiss World 4-man champion open it up here as he approaches the Kreisel? 1600ths back at the last split, 112.9 kilometers an hour, 1200ths. So he's cut into it a little bit, probably not enough track on this short, windy track in Königssee. Yes, by 0.05 of a second. This was the lower portion of the track where Rueg needed to be perfect, and he was close to perfect despite just the 4th best speed. As I mentioned throughout the coverage here, that happens a lot in run number 2. You'll have your fastest speeds early in the heat, especially when you have the likes of a Zubkov down so far in the standings. Luters and Brown. Pierre Luters, originally from Edmonton, has lived in Calgary for many years. Lascelles Brown moved to Canada from Jamaica. 494 start. So now things get tight, things get better. Throughout the season, we've had crazy first runs on the FIBT, only to have things normalize in the second heat, and that's just what's happening again here. Luters has medaled many, many times on this track. A bronze last year in the 2-man, a gold in the 4-man event. He loves this track. He was the world champion at the 2004 Weltmeisterschaften. And 2300ths up, he's stabilized the advantage, but he too has the driving experience down here and will no doubt hold on to the advantage. There's just 200ths up on the Swiss after the first heat for 400ths, but he opened that up to 16 there. Best run of the heat. That also reverses a trend. So a 49.71, better than 0.6 of a second better than his first heat time. Pierre Luters, Lascelles Brown. We speculated after the first heat that they could go from 6th into the medals here in run number 2. And they're in position to do just that. Now the top 5. Cervelle, Gattuso, Monaco 1. Greetings to all of our viewers in Monte Carlo. And our apologies that we are not accepting emails this weekend. A little technical issue. Gattuso loads in. 5:04. Start times have all been good. 5:06 or better for the last several sleds. So the conditions are quite favorable right now, but already 1500s behind Lueders. Serville, like Van Kalker to come in a moment for the Netherlands, have had a couple of events with one good heat. Their trouble has been stringing two together. The rain is falling lightly down here at the lower portion of the track, and they are done. Now they're trying to hang on to the top 8. And you wonder whether sometimes these drivers new to the top 4 or 5 just feel a little bit extra pressure in the second run. Only the 12th best time mustered here in the second heat, falling back 8 spots. Not a huge surprise, but certainly a huge disappointment for Patrice Serville, who's finished as high as the top 4 in international racing. 4 remain now as we close in on the medals. Canadians with the lead at the bottom. Martin Gallagher, Jörg Eger. Gallagher way down in 16th place in the World Cup standings. His best performance in two-man was last week in 8th place in San Moritz on his home track. He has 1 World Cup medal this season in 4-man. They had a great start in the first heat of 5:02. So they had a long pause before going, and a 5:01 start here. Pierre Lueders, La Salle Brown of Canada with the lead down below. This is the final Swiss hope to move into the medals. They have been medaling rather consistently, the nation of Switzerland, this year. Now out of the Kreisel. 1 split coming, and they are tight, but not looking too good. 1600s back. Lueders certainly the more experienced pilot down in this part of the track. Gallagher 119.4, much slower than the Russians and the Canadians, and they fall back, only the 11th best run of the heat. And our projection that Pierre Lueders would move from 6th into the medals is looking better and better. 140.36, the 2-run time. So we build now to the final 3 sleds. Tom Delhunty looking for a little history for his Dutch program. Edwin van Kalker. Sybren Jansma, 494 start in the first run, second only to Lange and the Germans. As the Canadians watch, one of these 2 teams will win a medal. Will it be yet another for Pierre Lueders or a first ever for Edwin van Kalker? The yelling of Coach Tom Delhunty in the background. The load by driver, by brakeman. Start time 4:91, equaling Lange and Kuska's first heat time. As I mentioned in the first run, Delhunty said if we can't do well here, we never will. The Dutch have been assured they're going to do well, but will it be well enough to win a World Cup medal? Now into Kreisel. 1600s at the last split. 800s here, this will be very tight. You will see and know from the reaction of Coach Tom Delhunty and the Canadians down at the bottom whether the Dutch have won a medal or whether it will be Canada. It's Canada. All the same, a 4th place finish for the Dutch. is historical for this emerging program with such fast starts. Two sleds remain, both from Germany. Andre Lange, Kevin Kuska, the World Cup leaders. Lange has already won 2 races this season in two-man. He's the only two-man driver with 2 victories. And now he's looking for number 3. 4:91 start in the first heat. We just saw the Dutch match that. They have a big lead over the Canadians after the first run, 0.2 of a second their advantage, and a 4:87. Lange and Kuska own the start record here with a 4:81, but they have by far the fastest here of the day. A brilliant pilot, rarely prone to mistakes, does some steering there, but quickly recovers. 22 hundredths up, still better than his first heat advantage over Luters. Track is slowing down in terms of speed. Now it's down to 17 hundredths. 120.8. That's the speed we're looking for. 120.2. This will be very, very close. The Canadians a little calm down there at the bottom, and they do fall back. And listen to this crowd cheering their great German champion. Only the 3rd best time of the heat, but they had that 0.2 of a second advantage over Luters heading in. And that was enough to give Andre Lange at least a silver medal. Here in Germany, the Germans have been guaranteed the gold medal. Will it be Deutschland 1 or Deutschland 3? Germany in 3. Hefner and Mann. Alex Mann from here in Königssee. They load 5:01. Advantage of 0.8 of a second over Germany 1 after the first run. It's down to 12. The same steering that Lange just performed there. Now into the Kreisel. Good speed, 113. But 7 hundredths back. Lange and Kuska should win this. They watch. Hefner crosses. And it's Deutschland 3. Matthias Hefner, Alex Mann. A huge victory for them. Matthias Hefner missed the first half of the season, did not qualify for the German team, only returned 3 weeks ago, and now he sits atop the bobsled world in his home country. Big day for the Dutch, congratulating the Germans as they finish in 4th. But in the end, former World Cup event winners, Hefner, Lange, Luters, sitting atop the leaderboard. Check the final results. Still with men's skeleton to come later today from Königssee. Hefner by 7 hundredths over Lange and Kuska. Big day for the Germans again. Luters captures the bronze. Historic finish for the Dutch. Rueg rounds out the top 5. Alexander Zubkov moves up 9 spots to end up in 7th as Mike Kahn is the top American in 10th place. Steve Holcomb also moves well up in the standings, ending up in 11th. Simon Bertazzo will drop out of the top 2 in the World Cup standings. Napier and Berkeley, in their first event here in Königssee, round out the top 20. So I head down, get some interviews from the top 3 finishers. Hang tight, we'll be back with you in a moment.
Das Ergebnis steht fest. Toller Sport. Wir haben jetzt noch die 6 Minuten zu überstehen, werte Zuschauer, bis wir eine besondere Ehrung durchführen und anschließend dann sofort die offizielle Siegerung. Und ich darf mal meine holländischen
Freunde mal hier ganz kurz hier bitten. Das war ja... Er steht zumindest nicht ganz oben, aber er steht auf der Siegertafel. Und ihr seid sehr zufrieden, oder? Ja, natürlich, gut. Für Holland ist es gut, für uns ist es gut, für den Bobsport ist es gut.
Und ich bitte für die Siegerung den Vizepräsidenten der FIBT, bitte hier
vorzukommen, den Herrn Bernd Hasenthal. Ich bitte den Landrat des Berchtesgadener Landes,
uns behilflich zu sein an seiner Konferenzbahn bei der Siegerung, den geschäftsführenden Vorstand des CRB haben wir schon da. Und ja, ich sehe sie ist auch da. Also ich kann den Sportdirektor des Sportverbandes für Deutschland, den Chef dieses Lokals,
Herrn Stefan Kraus, beruhigt rufen. Wir haben alle da, die wir fürs Programm brauchen. Vor allen Dingen haben wir die Unterstützung eines
fachkundigen, fairen und tollen Publikums. Schon mal vorab herzlichen Dank und es darf auch gejubelt werden, damit Ihnen warm wird. Danke.
So we're back down here at the bottom, getting set for some of the interviews with the top finishers. Quite a day for bobsledding. Andre Lange holds on to the top spot. Luters right behind him, and Ivo Ruig moves into the top 3. Holcomb clinging to the top 5. Zubkov with that strong second heat makes his move. Only one race remains as these athletes are in search of the WC Men World Cup trophy presented by Joska. So next week, that final World Cup race will be in Winterberg, Germany, in the Sauerland. Northern Germany, not as exciting a track as the one here in Königssee, but still the site of many crashes over the years, just ask the Jamaicans. It'll be two-man bobsled in all the disciplines in the World Cup finale. So down here at the bottom, the bronze medal goes to Pierre Luters, Lascelles Brown, and Canada. And Pierre, we predicted you could move from 6th to 3rd after that craziness of the first run. Were you feeling confident also?
Yeah, you know, we were all a little upset up there, not just us, but some of the other teams as well. But, you know, that's how it is in bobsleigh. It's an outdoor sport, and, you know, I've got Lascelles here. He's not going to quit either. So, you know, it was a good race, and we're happy to finish where we are.
All right, Pierre King, congratulations. And the silver medal, Andre Lange, Kevin Kuska, and Andra. First of 3 races in Germany. Kommentar in Deutsch.
Also ich sag mal, ich bin erstmal sehr zufrieden mit dem Ausgang des Rennens. Heute früh, wo ich rausgeguckt habe, habe ich gedacht, es wird noch viel schlimmer, weil das Wetter definitiv nicht für unsere Kufen gemacht ist. Wir sind glücklich über den 2. Platz.
Andre thought that the weather would be really, really bad, so he's just happy to be in the top 2. And a big day. Matthias Heffner, congratulations. How big is this for you?
Ja, das ist ein ganz großer Tag für uns heute, vor allem für Alex Bann, dass er seinen ersten Weltcup hier gemacht hat. Er hat mich super angeschoben. Das ging von oben bis unten wirklich sehr gut und wir sind überstolz, zufrieden. Der ganze Fanclub ist da. Es ist ein schöner Tag für uns heute.
It's a big day. He's happy about the fans here, especially proud of his brakeman Alex Mann, his first World Cup race, and it's a gold medal. Germany number 2, or 3 rather. Germany won and Canada won, the medalists here in Berchtesgaden. So that's the situation, the first of 2 races here. World Cup afternoon, a Saturday afternoon in Germany. So until we join you for the men's skeleton a little later on, for our producer John Morgan, executive producer Don Krohn, director Johan Viermans, and all of us for FIBT Television, I'm Tim Singer. Thanks for joining us. So long for now from Königssee. We'll see you in a little bit for men's skeleton.